All right, peace and love. Peace and love, y'all. Peace and love. All right. Doing it on the YouTube. Giving the YouTube a little something. We just passed it to 11:11. Hopefully you guys been having a great day so far. Getting that chance to catch that solace, catch that centeredness. It's very important that we do that on a daily basis. Hold on. This thing is trying to get everything right here. Yeah, I'm working on a time delay so that I could see the live, but I'm seeing it on a delay, the comments. And yesterday we went over the electromagnetic spectrum and the different fields of reality that exist here on the planet with us, right? They exist right here on the planet with you. And they coexisting with you without interfering with your existence. Let me get Mama Moringa out. And these are the type of things that are occurring on Terra, the planet. And these things are occurring, and in some way or another, it's influencing us. It's having an influence over what you're doing. You know, you got certain beings that have an interest in you and not in a way where they have an interest in you. And I'm not saying that to make anyone afraid or anything like that, but, you know, it tells you in the Bible about principalities and high places. This is kind of what they're referring to. And some time ago, I broke the code to the Bible, found the algorithm to a code in the Bible, and seen the esoteric meanings of what was inside the Bible. The Bible got a lot of knowledge in it. And that stuff is it's brought forth from other languages, going all the way back to the Akkadians. Those were the ones that came down to earth in Genesis 6 and mixed in with the daughters of men. Hey, can I get you to turn that down, son? Can I get you to turn, Nikki? I'm live on the YouTube here. Anyway, like I was saying, you know, Genesis chapter 6 is showing you these beings coming down and mixing in with man. It was corrupted. They had to flood everything out and start over again. But out of the seed of Noah, right? And this is why I'm always going back to the Akkadian, because that's the oldest record that's showing of the story, the narrative that has a definitive record that's correlating over into your Bible, right? That's the point of origin that I'm building from. So when people want to talk about whatever the fuck they want to talk about, if they're not going into the trajectory of Acadia, they're just speculating. If their train of thought, and I'm talking about going back in time in the history, you want to do all of that, we could do it. But it has to go back to that point because it talks about Utnapishtim and how he was told by some beings that were not from this planet to build a craft and collect the DNA of two of every animal. That's in the cuneiform script, that story. And when they carbon dated the tablet that cuneiform script is written on, it's past 26,000 years. They just don't want to let you know that, because if they do let you know that, then guess what? Why are you telling me all these other stories? Why don't you just tell me what they said so I could just get the right script? But see, many of the Amorites didn't know how to read or write. This is a point I got to keep driving home to people, right? And that's where these stories are coming from. They borrowing these stories out of the Akkad. So relaxation and time incorporated with this process. Transcranial magnetic stimulations come in motion. What the fuck? You're gonna have to ask that question like I'm a fourth grader. I mean, how do the magnetic relaxation time incorporated? Like, that's a run-on sentence, brother. Put that together, man. Yeah, but like I'm saying, the Akkadians, the Akkad, that's what everything is going off of that. And then you go into Genesis 11, and in Genesis 11, because it's telling you about the genealogy of Isis. This is what came out the seed, listen, of Satuk, not Satuk, but of Orset, and also what came out the seed of Nephthet or Nephtha, who was her sister, right? 16 and 17, respectively. 16 and 17, when you put them together, you see the number 32, which is dealing with the creative force. One dealt with the afterlife, and one deal with the highest pinnacle that you could reach in consciousness, divinity. Divinity and death. One son is Haru, the other one is Anubu, right? Just looking at it in the perspective of radiology, because what they attempt to do is give themselves some type of relevance in the tapestries of reality without acknowledging the beings that they got it from. Instead of just giving the authoritative acknowledgement that needs to be acknowledged, you trying to put yourself above it. And it's like, yo, you ain't got nothing better to add. And as I aforementioned on several other lives, and I'm gonna start uploading more TikTok lives to the YouTube. I'm about to just flood the YouTube with Dr. Ray. Y'all know I'm capable of doing it, and we doing it in real time. So y'all create y'all playlists, and let's shoot up in the algorithm, right? Let's shoot up in the algorithm and get things going appropriately. But with the Genesis story, it's telling you the genome of the beings that came out of that chromosome, right? And the branches that it went off into. And they got all of this out the book of Ra, because I told y'all about the Mesopotamians and how they invaded, right? And they didn't invade, right? They got kicked out of there in 651 BCE by Ahmose. They didn't come back until like 325 BCE. So it took them a whole nother 300 years to get their mind right and come back to the Happy Nile Valley in the land of Amen. You know, that's where all the priests is at. That's like this country saying they're gonna go to war with Rome and they just go and attack the Vatican, war the priests, and they're not gonna go fight their military. They just gonna go fight the bishops, and that's what they did. And they said, "Ah, we conquered them," and it's like, no, the military never came, and they realized that you guys were just grave robbers, and they wasn't wasting all their military that way. And then we never re-engaged with the population because they was too enamored with their wealth. That was the setback of the people of the Happy Nile Valley. They was too over involved in, their wealth and what they actually had, and they lived in too much leisure. Too much leisure was being exhibited by the people in these lands, and when they got lackluster like that, that's what allowed invasions to come in, a separation of the political systems and theories. People stopped practicing stuff and stopped sending their children to occult centers. And then it was also hard to go there because you had these savages all over the place thinking that they conquering shit, which they got kicked up out of there again. We'd have kicked their ass up off of that little gypsy area. That's why they call it Egypt, because that's the area where they squatted at. And they try to tell you that represent all of Somalia, that represent all of Sudan, that represents all of Abyssinia, that represents all of Nubia, that represents all of Uganda and Kenya. See, they don't include all of that. They just tell you about that one little area. And a lot of our people here in the New World of North America, all you understand is English. So you kind of spellbound to the dissertations that are being exhibited into your language. So I go through the layers of the transliterations and go back through the Bible to show you these timestamps from stories that they plagiarized them from, and show a definitive record that's connected to it. So when we be talking about the Neteru, we talk, and we got that, the ranking within the pantheon of the deities, right? When we transfigurate, when we send it through a mathematic filter, it always comes out the other end solid gold. Every time. Every time we send it through the fire, it come out solid gold. And we get a clear message that's coming from the crown end of the spectrum and the electromagnetic spectrum of the aspect of the consciousness of those deities that's here, right? Now, above that, you have another one that's dealing with, the Ethereans. That's a whole nother level, man. And I don't like to go into incomprehensible zones, right? Peace and love, y'all. There go a question. She said 13 months, not 12. Anubis guards the afterlife, robbed again all things, disconnect from digital demons and connect with Natir and experience true life and freedom. Yes, I agree with that. I don't know what you talk about, if that's a question or you just talking, but I could tell by, the names. You got to stop using Anubis. You got to stop using Ra. Those are not their names. Those are the Greek names that these beings put in place, right? They be trying to block the power of the invocation when you start calling on these names. But it's a full pecking order to that, right? And like what I propagate, because we under the guidance of the Nectar. We under their guidance, sister. That's beyond a shadow of a doubt. But it's a pecking order to working with the Netru, to working with any of the deities out here. That pecking order is, we have to acknowledge those that we come from first, right? These are definitive connections that I ask people to make, because what happened is we came into the body, right? We come into the body And we only get access to this body because of our mothers and fathers, right? They're the ones that provide the body for us, right? Us, we came from a vibration that's way above what is considered the divine within the encapsulation of the planet's electromagnetic spectrum, right? Now, Geb, who was the head deity, because I usually have the Egyptian stuff up here, but I took it down. Well, and I say Egyptian for lack of a better word, what people can understand, right? But I usually have the deities on these chakra points and show the correlation of those deities. But far too often, we make the mistake of bypassing our own genetical branches, because these branches is what lead us to the Neteru, right? And we have to show the appropriate reverence to our dearly departed first. And I tell a lot of my students that and the people in the community when it comes to the Neteru. Because we do work with the Neteru now, but make sure you work with your mama and your daddies and your grandmamas and your granddaddies. And you give them their appropriate ashe. And we have to start to acknowledge that first. That leads to the corridors that open up the doorways to the ancestors and to the ancient ancestors and into the ancient ones, right? The ancient of days, those beyond that, the primordials. Those are the areas where the deities dwell. And what they ask for the petitions on earth, just like in the Papyrus of Ani, or some people say Anai, in that papyrus it says, make sure that you pour a libation to those that predate you in death in the Valley of the Kings, right? And if you do this all your life, one day somebody gonna do that for you, right? So it's a certain pecking order to going into the natural, just like it's a pecking order as we go through the vibrations of color, as we go into the vibrations of the endocrine seats, right? Or the chakra points, right? Which is connected to each gland in your endocrine system, right? And once enough neural activity is built up in all these areas and the hormones are appropriately balanced, then our consciousness moves through these seats and allows us connection to the divine, right? And this is something that reflects back, because that's what the sunlight does. It goes through these ends of the spectrum and it touches the noon. And when it touches the noon, it generates a proverbial sky, if you will. That's Newt. But we don't put Newt up here for a particular reason. I'm attempting to show the significance of dealing with the visible end of things, right? And what the sister was saying was on point. No, we gotta connect with our parents first. They want to see how you work with them. They want to see how you can give an ode to your grandmother and your grandfather first. Right? Show that you dedicated and devoted to showing them some gratitude. And when we could get that down pat, then we can have that same degree of reciprocity with the Neteru. It'll be a lot more genuine and authentic when we connect with them, because that's what we're here for, is to bring back the paradigm. Or we're not bringing back, we're we're moving into a new paradigm, the Paruti paradigm. And it's a particular way that the people need to be made aware of who they are, right? But we got to look at what the Papyrus of Ani says again, right? Know thyself. So we got to acknowledge the visible aspects of ourselves, which does takes us into the Happy Now Valley. But as we start to look at the definitive aspects of what we reflect in this reality, we also got to give back all of that shit that don't reflect us in this reality, right? So you say 13 months and not 12 months. It really is 19 months. It ain't supposed to be 13 months. It's supposed to be 19 months. But that's a whole nother story in itself. And that's not even as significant as putting forth effort of reverence and dedication and devotion to our dearly departed. Because those are the only spirits, listen, that you know that you can connect with. Because the memories of them is still in your RAM area. It's still in your random access memory. And they're thriving and existing in this area while you still living in the body. And the blood that you are carrying comes from them, right? It comes from them. And you have to acknowledge them, not all day, but give them a unit of time before you begin your day. Because they're the ones that's helping to assist and open up these roads, right? They got more interest in you than the Netaru do. The Netaru is too far removed in locality. They're more of like observant. Now, they do manifest through the elements. But the most significant thing is that we connect with them ancestors, which I tell you guys, your ancestors don't begin until 2048, pair of great grandparents back. On the other side of that begins your ancestors. Anything before that is perceived as the children to the ancestors, right? You want your venerations and your libations to reach back that far. You got to generate a noon for all my people in AAA and people that do work with their altars, right? You got to generate enough libations to generate a noon, an ocean, right? You want to pour that, you want to get that degree of reverence. Because based on how you're able to work with them, that's how these forces are able to work with you. And see, I've integrated the spiritual aspects, the application therein, the physical aspects, and the physical applications therein with the mental aspects and the mental application therein into one sitting. And it does take some discipline and obedience and some repetitious activity going on in order for you to generate a circuit that's going to bring forth a fulfilling result, not just some mild result, but a fulfilling result where you know it's having an impact in this reality, right? This way we're not taking it on at a superficial rate like the Caucasus that got us speaking this language has programmed you to be. I told y'all there's two groups of angels. And I say that because I had to put it in the context of what you can understand, because all you can understand is English, right? Where do you think they got those wings from for the angels? They took all of that out of the Happy Now Valley. They took your stories and put a P. Diddy remix on it. Satan is a pep. They turned him into a Pappas, right? It's the same being. Amit, Amma, they show that to you in the Moon Knight. They don't want you to know the real names because you got a genetical connection to them. And aspects of them are lying dormant in your genetics. But you got to wake them up, right? And you start from the foundation of where you begin from in this timeline. That's your 0 point time reference. And I'm always speaking in the direction of the new year. People say, "Oh, the new year starts in spring. That's when everything begins." That's very that's that's very deep and fluffy, right? It's kind of lofty, really, but we gonna just give you that. But then, is that the Earth's birthday? Because then the Earth's birthday is the real New Year, right? And as far as we are concerned, for us and what we're capable of perceiving at a New Year will begin on the day that you broke that plane of the wound and got birthed yourself, right? That's your birthday. That's your 0 point time reference. And you only get one birth date. That's the day that you was born. After that, that's your new year, right? And you got to measure your time, listen, from the day that you were born until it cycles back to that time. And that's your cycle in your loop. And it's an algorithm that you moving on uniquely. And it's interwoven into other people's timelines as well, because we all on different timelines. We're finding temporal localities to integrate our timelines for a period of time that is also measured, right? So at one time, we were the master recorders. That's how we was able to measure out time. And what they did was time, because you say that it's 13 calendar, 13 months. It's 13 points, right? And it's 12 sections from 13 points that you can measure out equally at 100, at 30 degrees apiece. That's how they was able to get 30 days in a month. You know, that's where that concept came from. That's some Hyksos shit. That's what the Hyksos was able to capitulate from the records that they took from up out of the temples, right? Because I told y'all where Egypt is at, the place where they squatted, it's just a whole bunch of scholars there. It's a bunch of, it's not the military. They didn't try to go to war with the military. They didn't even get down into the good parts of the other place. Like I said, these is gypsies, right? But when we look at the number 13, right, and we put that on a clock, not a calendar, it's two different things, right? You put that on a clock, you got 13 points. That 13 Neteru is Geb, and his attribute is time, right? His attribute is time. This is how time is equated by way of Geb. And we went over that on a previous live. You could pull up, I want to say 2 lives ago. We broke down Geb, and join us on the school and see the breakdown that we have for Geb as well, since we've been up under the guidance of Geb. But the 13 points, that's dealing with time, right? And you got 12 equal lateral portions that you could cut time up into, or to measure it, you know, to get an equivalent time. And they got close because it's 23,000, or excuse me, it's 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 4 seconds comprised of a day. That's leaving 4 minutes, listen, and 56 seconds off of time. 4 minutes and 56 seconds. And then you got a whole nother 4 seconds missing off of every minute, because they're calculating a minute wrong. You know, this is the Hyksos attempt at attempting to blanket what was put out by, you know, our ancient ancestors from the Happy Nile Valley, right? That's the source of all knowledge. People don't want, I don't know what that is, but people don't want to give them their credit for being a source of knowledge, man. They invented the comb, the table, a chair, couches, bowls, cups, forks, mirrors, hair combs, toothbrush. All that shit came out of Egypt. What they're referring to is Egypt. See, I gotta catch myself. They built the irrigation system. They the ones that did all of that. Electricity, we been did that. They just gotta cover that shit up and make you not think that you had all of this stuff already going on prior to them getting here. So they had to mix us all up as much as they could, and it still didn't work. Because you're dealing with the spirit. The spirit is dealing with a gas, an electrical gas. You call it plasma. And once it gets into the body becomes animated. Plasma is the most abundant substance in the physical universe. And there's different degrees of plasma. And it's corresponding on a quantum level with the blood in your body, which is composed of plasma. Right? That's why I tell y'all to get out there in the sun, which is ray, right? We call it ray. You overstand, Rod, that's cool. And it's cool with you overstand, sister. I'm not I'm not getting on you. I just gotta put it in its correct context, because there's other people that's watching. I get a lot of monitoring spirits, and people like to go off on their own ideas without being under nobody's guidance. And that's fine too. I'm not saying I'm here to guide every damn body, but there's a degree of etiquette that needs to be acknowledged and recognized, especially on this platform, because as I said, we deal with 363 degrees of physical knowledge, 726 degrees of spiritual knowledge, and 1,089 degrees of mental knowledge. So it's a way to integrate all these things into one. And that's what we're doing here in this great day and time called Noontide Ray. I'm not new to YouTube, but I'm new going live on YouTube and doing what making my presence known as we bring forth the Raynology, which is setting forth the precedents for a new paradigm. And we're taking people out that paradigm of belief. You're welcome, beloved. We bringing people up. We want to make sure that we eradicate any sense of belief, right? And my students know that's law number one. Even though we under the guidance of the Neteru, I say, man, you better connect to your big mama. You better connect to your big daddy in a real way and show them some ashe every day. Show them some acknowledgement, some little reverence, some offering. Burn an ancestor note. Pour out some libations. Do something for them every day. Dedicate your day to them. Ain't that what people do when they get the trophy? When they win their little Oscar or their Grammy, they be like, I want to dedicate this to my mama. She was always there. My grandma. And it's for you. You know what I mean? These are people that you actually seen, that you went through some shit with. You're going to acknowledge those people. And what y'all got to realize is that the beings that's operating up here, they can see all that shit going on down here. So you being watched, right? You being watched. And they saying, oh, man, this person all the way down, like he with it. Let me go down there and help this individual. And then start leaving little Sims in your life. You keep seeing Sekhmet everywhere. You're like, why I keep seeing Sekhmet? Sekhmet attempting to get people's attention, and she, because all y'all that know, y'all know, right? She bringing people this way so that she can work with you, because she'll work with you. But she works with you best if you work with your own first. And that goes for any of the deities. That way you will know how to keep up that rapport with them. Because it's like you already keeping on with Mom Duke and Grandmammy and Pappy, right? And all the other names you start finding out as you start to investigate your family tree, because all that shit just start popping out to you. It is accessible, right? It's gonna just come to you, start coming to you. That's them, that's their spirits. This is familiarizing you with connecting to spirits, because you are a spirit. You're not the flesh. You're just under the impression that you're the flesh, right? You're under that impression. And in order to acknowledge the spirit, you want to start with a spirit that you're comfortable and familiar with. It makes it easier to make a spiritual connection that way. And when you get that connection down pat and you strengthen that rapport, when you start messing with beings of a higher stature, you're going to have to keep a rapport with that being if you really wanted to. And it's going to look in your Akashic and see how dedicated and devoted you are to your own people. You know, some of y'all just can't wait to go tap into the deities. And it's like, yo, you ain't even give your people their eye shape first. Make the connection with them. Because they're not gonna want to fuck with you. It's like somebody attempting to, you know, it's like, man, I don't want to know your friends. I want to know you. You know what I mean? I don't know what you and your homeboy do, and I don't care about none of that. And I'm not going to overstep the connection I had to somebody else to get to know who on the other end of their wall. You hear me? And don't play yourself out like that. Hold on a second, y'all. Tap. I want to say tap the screen. Hold on a second. All right. See if they there. Yeah, but yeah, that's what the natural want up out of us, man. They want us to uh they want us to do what's right, do what's just. They left instructions, they left everything for you to know. Because at one time we would not incarnate beyond the nitrogen in the atmosphere. That's why the color green, right, is associated with the sky, right? And then you start seeing it turn turquoise. It went from green to turquoise. It got lighter. You follow that? So it used to be green. The yellow end of the spectrum, that's the sunlight that you see breaking through the spectrum, right? The orange part of it, the orange part, that's the resonance of all the emotions gathering in the atmosphere when you see in the sunset. The red part, that's the density, that's the body, that's what's rooted into the earth. Then you got the black part, which I couldn't put the black chakra down there because I ran out of room. Right? And I'm gonna keep this up until somebody asks a question that make me take it down. But based on what we've been talking about over the last week on TikTok and here on the YouTube and on the school and in the 1089 tech space, this is the flow chart for most of the questions that people have asked. I could pretty much deduce it into this and break it down for you right here, right? With the Netaru in the green section of the atmosphere, this is why the grass is green. The deities were once green, as we've discussed that before. And we talk about that a lot. Check out the school. Come join us on the school as well. And if you haven't, right? And we're making our way here on the YouTube so people could become exposed to raynology in the 1089 tech community also. But in the green area, because the air was mostly nitrogen, right? It was mostly nitrogen. So when you're talking about shoe, when you're talking about Tefnut, if you see pictures of them, you're going to see green pictures of Tefnut. That's the green lion. You're going to see a green lion, and you're going to see a picture of shoe, like the one in the holy tablets. If you see a real picture of shoe or one of those illustrations in color, his face is green, right? The deities was green. We was green until we mixed in with the Hindu. That's the sixth ether Asiatic black man. That's the black man. They started calling us the black man and started calling themselves white man because the original Hindus was black. But they began to get bleached out because they couldn't thrive in these regions, and they would remix in with their albino seed. We didn't remix in with the albino. We used to send that motherfucker off, you know. And I'm not here to condemn anybody for being albino or nothing like that. I'm just stating the facts of it. Even with those people that had retardation, they sent those were the beings that got sent to the military. Y'all know that, right? They put all of them on the front line because they didn't want them to reproduce. Reproduction was a big thing, man. I'm telling you, your genetic selection, you had to have sex on a certain day. You had to have sex with a certain person. They had to have the same blood as you. They had to have the same characteristics. It was a lot that went into that. Primarily because you had visitors from other star constellations that would come and incarnate into your body too, right? But that's when the physiology of the body and the lushitude of the landscape was more richer. The air was more thicker and pure. So when you breathe in that prana, that was enough you didn't have to eat. You didn't have to drink nothing. That's a whole different evolutionary cycle of being. You hear me? It was different. Their limbs didn't break. It was a time on this planet when beings would just incarnate through the sky. They could literally just project themselves into this existence because that's how rich the elements was, the certain conditions for that to occur, on a plasmatic level, But these is our sciences. This ain't they scientists. They sciences. They try, that's why I gotta check those names at every fucking turn. Anubis, Osiris, Isis. I see a person and using that terminology, I know that they got stopped by their gatekeepers, right? They got stopped there. That's Serapis. That's where they inserted Serapis into the archway of the pantheons, right? And I could tell how far a person has studied within raynology within our community. Because they're gonna get to the Serapis point. You should be able to get there. And then I know you've been doing that homework. And shouts out to the people that did turn in that homework for the 99 Neteru. I read over some of you guys' stuff, and that's a real good job. You was diligent and you was able to do it. I know some of y'all probably use AI to the best of your ability, and that's all good too. But I'm just telling you, you did a good thing. That still take effort, and what you're doing is when y'all follow that mandate, what you're showing to the Neteru is that you're really interested in them and you're looking to be a devotee and a custodian to this planet, because that's the most maturest thing that you could do as a Homo sapien. It's to become a custodian, to be of service. And that's the end game to what's going on here with Raynology, the Council Array, OrgoniteTEK. That's what it's really all about, y'all. And the planet will stamp you itself, because again, we don't get a planet enough acknowledgement. You just a micron on the planet, man. If it was truly angry with you, it could end you. It can end you physically in a multitude of horrific ways where it can make you suffer. That needs to be acknowledged. You know what I mean? You need to show that motherfucker some reverence, like you show Big Bubba in the damn prison cell a lot of reverence when he come through, right? That's the type of acknowledgement we need to start having for the planet. Like, oh shit, you know, respect and honor you, you know. And that's what we used to do in the Happy Nile Valley, in Kentamitu, Kaminu. We used to go on vacation on this side of the earth. Turned it into an oasis, a vacation spot for us. Because we used to have so many visitors from other planets, not visitors from the planet, visitors from other planets. And that's why we had checkpoints and all that shit. We was on some whole other shit. Most of the world was Neolithic. I'm writing about that in the Paruti Paradigm Part 2. Right? Yeah, it's a Part 2 to Paruti Paradigm. Right? It's going to get thicker and deeper every time. And I'm showing how beings lived on a Neolithic timeline outside the range of what was going on in the Happy Nile Valley. And they know this shit too, man. They know it too. There's been a lot of gene selection going on this planet with a multitude of extraterrestrials. And they didn't know how they tied into that, which they don't. They don't tie into. That's why they hate your ass. I'm telling you, right? You're welcome, beloved. You know, and they know you got connections beyond the stars. It's just that you don't know it. You're not aware of who you are. And I'm just one of those brothers that's here to make you aware of who you are. Like I said, I've been on this path over 29 years. I didn't just start this. And I got enough wherewithal and my accountability for the knowledge that I have ascertained and obtained and retained during this time to think about people that are new to their journey, man. Because I remember those days when I didn't know what a chakra point was. I didn't know what crystals were for, or I didn't know none of that. Only crystal I knew about was a diamond. Only element I knew about was gold. I knew about the pyramid. I did know about it, but I didn't know about it in depthly. I just knew that it was on the back of a dollar bill. That was all I knew about that shit. I wasn't into Egypt. I knew about Nefertiti, and my mom had Egyptian pictures. My aunt had Egyptian pictures, and I see books on Egypt and stuff like that. But those are just Sims on the outlines of me coming into that awakening of self-realization, right? Because you got self-awareness, then you got self-realization. And the realization comes into play when you start to embody, you have to embody the culture. And as my Supreme Grand Master teacher before me said, you got to think, eat, breathe, sleep Egyptian. And we say Egyptian with an I, not a Y, right? We don't have to ask why, because I am the I am the realization of that. And I'm a walking totality of it. You know what I mean? Somebody had to ask me one day at the print shop, like, hey, what is that Baru? Is that Baruti? Like, yeah, that's my Rudy. That's how you. Is that how you say it? Like, yeah, that's how you say it. What is that? Bam! But I just start going in. But they see me wearing, see me with that shit so much, you can't help but to ask that shit, man. Can't help but to ask it. And we have to immerse ourselves in the default setting. That's your default setting. I don't give a fuck where you from. If you don't know you got a tribe, you don't know the village and all that, you here in the New World of North America, that's your default setting for identification. But you can't use the you can't use their terminologies. You can't refer to their syntax if you're gonna speak English, if that's all you understand is English. Because now they can assess you the same way they're gonna assess this live right here and find a way to keep themselves anchored into your auric field, right? With the customs and the traditions that you have a genetical birthright to, that go beyond the stars, right? Your connections go beyond the stars, and there's somebody that don't want you to know that. And that goes back to Revelations 12:7, as I said before. There was a war going on in the heavens. That's what it tells you in Revelation 12:7. Let me pull it up for you while I break this down. It was up here in the purple end, right? We was up in the purple end, and it was the archangel Michael and his angels going up against Satan and his dragons. Now, the war was, they both lived on this plane, right? They both lived here. But Angel, Michael wanted you to come and tap into your divinity. Satan and his dragons was intimidated by you tapping into your divinity because it'd put you on an angelic frequency with them. And they thought that the humans were less than them. Him and his angels. It was like the humans is less than us. You know what I mean? They suffer through their emotions and their thoughts and their desires. They don't even have an influence over their own thinking. So we want them to tap into their thinking. We want them to tap into their emotions, their thoughts, and their desires and stay down there and be human. We don't want them to tap into their divinity. Because then that's going to put them on the same level as me. And the Archangel Michael didn't like that. Said, nah, man, you on that bullshit. We'll give you the right that they can't do that. They could get a chance to do that shit too. So they was fighting over your heart, over the mind. And like I told y'all, your atmosphere used to be green. That was nitrogen. That's the sister put in there, NTR. That's the abbreviation for nitrogen, the nitir. See what happened when you put nitrogen into a car? Right? It take off. Right? You add nitrogen to everything, the combustion accelerates the capabilities of the mechanics that has been added into. So what they did was they put oxygen in play because they needed oxygen, which I told y'all that's a poison to you. Just like when you take a banana, right? When you take a banana and you remove it from its stem, it begins to oxidize. Same thing with an apple. When you cut it down the center, it begins to oxidize. It begins to rust, just like iron. When you dip it in water and sit it out, it begins to oxidize, right? So they put the oxygen and placed it in between the green and the turquoise. That's what got it to become the color turquoise. Right? You corrupted that indigo, trying to throw it up in there. And oxygen is very dense. I told you guys that before. Oxygen is a dense gas. All you got to do is blow into a balloon. And when you blow into the balloon, the balloon fall to the ground. But you put some helium, which is lighter than oxygen, into a balloon, it starts to float into the air. That's showing you that something is wrong with having white clouds in your atmosphere. The reason why they white is because of the oxygen. But your sky was really green. You know, when too much nitrogen gathers into the atmosphere, what happens? Anybody know? Anybody knows what happens when you add too much oxygen in the atmosphere? I'll give y'all a second to think about that. You see the mailman right fast. Yeah. Anybody come up with the answer? No, when too much nitrogen gathers in the atmosphere, it creates lightning. Lightning gets created, and the lightning creates thunder, right? She says you begin to get dizzy. That's when it's too much oxygen. You know, that's what they fill up in the airplane. Get you all doped up just in case, just in case you don't got a good land. Right? So that's something to know about. So it was a fight going on in the heavens between the archangel Michael and his angels. And listen, this what the see Revelations chapter 12, verse 7 through 12. This is what the AI said. This is what the AI had to say about it. Revelations 12, verse 7 describes a celestial war where Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, Satan, and his angels. The dragon and his forces were defeated and cast out of heaven, leading to rejoicing in heaven, but woe for the earth as the devil's wrath increases, knowing his time is short. The passage symbolizes a cosmic conflict where Satan, the great deceiver, loses his place in heaven and is cast down to earth, escalating his war against God's people who overcome him through faith in Christ. Right? They put that faith in Christ in there. Because they got a whole little thing. Like I said, they try to acquiesce your position in reality. They don't have no place in time. Right? Not in history. They have to try to pour themselves in there. But again, anything that's biblical, for those that may have came in here late, it go back to the Akkadians, period, as far as a definitive record. Because even Revelations 12:7, and you can't show me that in stone nowhere. You can't even show me a piece of paper that's time dated to the time of Jesus. If they had anything that was relevant to that exact time and they really had it, they would be showing that shit off. You would have to watch that on TV every Sunday all day long, if that was the case, right? But let's read the actual verse. You know, I like to go into the Bible Hub The Bible Gateway. Revelations 12:7. And there was a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in the heaven. So they got kicked out of this area. They got kicked out of the angelic realm. That's up in your crown area. And they had to come down here to the root area and suffer from desire, their thoughts and emotions. So when they got kicked out of this area, because they was fighting over this area, the mental, your heart. And the heart is where the mind seats itself, right? Y'all remember that? So the heart started being controlled started having control over the body, and the thoughts that they were influencing you to have, it was affecting your emotions and your desires. And they want to keep you trapped here. They don't want you to tap into the spiritual sides of you, because then you'll cross that quantum bridge and connect to the angelics that will groom you for the divine inside of you. All of this is going on inside of you. All of this is going on your planet. Right? There's levels to this shit. Then all of this is going on your solar system too. And I don't know. I was just gifted with knowing these things and putting these things together, and having the right type of teacher to groom me to be doing all. Like, man, it was fate, right? And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil. This is verse 9. And Satan, which deceiveth the whole world, he was cast out into the earth, and his angels was cast out with his ass. And I heard a loud voice saying to heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth he have but a short time. And when the dragon saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she was nourished for a time, and times and a half a time, from the face of the serpent. And when the serpent cast out his mouth, water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away in the flood, and the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth and swallowed up the flood, and the dragon cast out of his mouth. And the dragon was wroth with the woman, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandment of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. Right? And that's what they try to do to our women. Right? They try to turn our women out and cast her out into the wilderness and take your kid from your ass. They had to come up with a way to do that, man. But they want to be around your children. The devil planted fear inside of the children while they was in your womb, by planting that seed of fear inside of you when you were a child. You hear me? I told y'all that was the whole intent, was to get into your heart. Because they already lost the battle up here. So before they made it to the ground, they got into your body. They got into your mental. And see, that's why this is mental knowledge. Right? I'm giving you guys some mental knowledge so that you can become a master of your mind and not allow your mind to master you. That is your goal while you incarnated in this planet, is to do that. And once you do that, listen, the mind cannot be corrupted. The mind cannot be enslaved any longer. It can't be brought into submission by someone outside of you or anything that decides to attempt to get inside of you. It's gonna have it's gonna have tough luck in that department, right? I'd be remiss if I wasn't telling you guys these things. And I had to make a Bible reference to validate the points that I'm showing you right here on this board. All you got to do is go through the gates of radiology. That's it. And get that shit down pat, man. Because see, I was fortunate enough to be able to create a business for myself just so I could study, just so I could dive and educate myself, so I could refine my teaching. And I kept thinking the whole time, like, man, I got to do this so I can pour it into what I love to do. I got to work here and I got to have this little side hustle so I can pour that into what I love to do. And it took my mother to come to me, may the ancestors be with her. It took for her to pass on and for me to be venerating her ass, for me to come to the point that, like, yo, just do exactly what you love, Bob. That way you ain't got to do none of that other shit. Over time, things will fall in line. And things will start working out for you in a positive way. You just got to stay on, get it out the mud, just like you always do. I remember her with the conviction, she said that through me. And when I say through me, I mean coursing through my veins, because I'm connected to my mama. What type of connection everybody else got, but I'm connected to mine, right? I'm connected to her. I feel her. I feel the connection. I feel her messages. And that was her main thing to me. And I had an aunt that doubled down on it. It's my daddy's sister doubled down on it. I had no idea that I even had that conversation within myself with my mother. She was like, man, and we don't never talk on a daily basis like that. But she called me out of nowhere. I don't know what made her call me that day, but she called me. We got to talking and shit. And I was already on the TikTok. And she is like, and I was getting a lot of sales on the pyramids and stuff, right? People was really tapping into them pyramids. And I was like, man, that's wild. Maybe I don't need to be working, because I ain't never really work anyway, right? But I had got a job because my trucking business didn't do good. So when I got back to town, I went and got me a little job. And I started pouring more energy and time into OrgoniteTEK and putting this stuff together and getting better at it. Meeting people that was also engaged into the things that I was into. And because of that, it ended up, bringing me to this. You know what I mean? It ended up bringing me full circle. And I had come to the realization, like, yo, man, this is what I got to do, because I got too much knowledge. I can't just keep that shit to myself, right? I got to use it to help other people. And I was already doing that anyway, but now I needed to give it my full attention. And I should have realized that when the people were getting attacked by the witches. They were afraid to leave these covens. And, I had a little episode with a warlock, and I just took it as forms of initiation. But even at that time, I wasn't seeing the full landscape, the full big picture that my oversoul was, displaying to me, because it was way too expanded. That's why I be telling y'all, like, even all the stuff I'm telling you guys is things that I went through. Is like 90% of what I say is based on experience. So when I be giving out that advice, I'm giving it out from a place of love and correction, Because I told y'all the first 7 years of my journey, that's all I did was get correct. It was so many more brothers that was more advanced than me and more erudite than me, and I didn't take it no type of way either. I loved it. You know what I mean? Shit polished it up, and I used it. You know, I used that shit to my advantage, man. You know, I ain't gonna lie, I ain't got no bullet holes in me. I ain't locked up nowhere or none of that stuff. So I did something right, and I did it consistently enough to make myself a better person, you know, to the point I end up doing the exorcism on myself, right? So you can't take your time for granted. And like the great Kobe Bryant used to say, you cannot, you know, the one thing that humans uh, fool themselves with is thinking that they got more time than you actually have, you know. You don't be having more time. You don't got the time to fuck off like that, right? And I got to catch people. I got to get on these platforms and overwhelm the algorithm with who I am to put that message out there because I'm looking for the children. Those children that were, listen, in the second grade 13 years ago, that was in the seventh grade 13 years ago. They're going to get activated a lot faster than somebody in their 30s or their 40s. And by the time they get in their 30s and 40s, they'll already be on that ascended biorhythm, right? Operating in the gamma frequency, connecting to the divine instead of having to go through a medium, right? And the children that they'll produce will be on that biorhythm too. And this is what Satan and his angels, they don't want them, they don't want you on that vibration. Look at the music that they perpetuate to our children. Look at it. Just to our children. Look at the examples for the young black girls. They got Cardi B, Sexy Red, Megan Thee Stallion. They're very beautiful vixens. You know, they promote their sexual prowess because that's pretty much all they have. But why that need to be the only role model for our young girls? Why are they the voice of who our women are? Those are not our women. You don't get to hear the voice of our women, right? We don't even know who we are. And that's why I said the default setting is the Happy Now Valley. That's the default setting. And you got to show some solidarity for it. You know, stop wearing their clothes. Because you the one that's making that shit powerful. What you put your energy into, energy flows where your attention goes. And what you put your energy into, you bring that shit to life. You give it a plasmatic charge just because you giving it your attention. You have no idea how powerful your attention is until you focus and concentrate on something that you really want to happen. And then it begins to expand. Because what you focus and concentrate on is going to expand. And your energy flows where your attention goes. And the more consistent that you do these things, you start to get the attention of beings that exist outside the visible spectrum. As you go up as you leave the range of the visible spectrum, by the time you get to the degree of the mental, you can't see what's going on these levels up here with your visible eyes that's moving through the sensory range of your optical focal points called your eyeballs, right? When you leave upside of that, when you try to get them eyeballs to focus up here, can't see none of this shit. Your mind's eye can, right? But the heart got to be clear for the mind's eye to open up. And the crown chakra has to be opened up in order for you to receive a transmission, right? So when that mind's eye comes out the brow chakra, now you can pick up on the transmission that's coming from the angelic realm. It's coming from the divine realms. It's coming from the cosmic realms, from the solar realms. And that shit be for you. All you got to do is trust. You ain't got to have faith. You ain't got to believe. You got to trust. But you got to trust yourself first, right? You got to know yourself. You got to get your own mind to trust you. And you're capable of doing it, beloved. You're more than capable. Anybody got any questions at this time? Any questions? As we go take it to the TikTok next. To the TikTok, you don't stop. Yeah, that's gonna be the next location that we go to. Just establishing our imprint here on the YouTube. For all my team, my tech team members, my tech nation, you guys get you a playlist together, Dr. Ray videos, and play that playlist for me. Play it on your laptops. Let's get it going. Let's get it going. We're going to push ourselves up here. I got about 3 or 4 more videos I want to upload. And shit, whatever live that we do today on TikTok too. Right? And we going in, and I'm putting it all out there for you guys. Just repost. Right? You want to contribute to the platform, repost the videos, share them, post them on your Facebook page, your Instagram. Go follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok, of course, and Facebook. Even though I'm locked out of Facebook, you will see my new OrgoniteTEK page. It still receives all my uploads from the Instagram, but I just can't get in there. So if anybody's sending me messages over there, you need to come follow me on another platform. Or I got a Facebook page called Dr. Ray and Brother Ray. Those are both me. That's not no Nigerian. That's me. All right. But I don't be on my Facebook like that. So, I really don't. I really don't be on the Instagram like that. I'm just going to start going on the Instagram. Too much sex on the Instagram. It feel like I'm on a porn site half the time. Like, man, let me get off of here. Right? But follow me on TikTok if y'all really want to get in on what's really going on. But any questions? Anybody got any questions? All right now. What about the moon magic? Y'all been keeping up with your moon magic? Y'all should be. We going in, we coming out the administrative phase. People been paying attention. Y'all been on your dean? Okay. That's what's important. That's what's important, you guys. Stay the course. Stay focused on your intentions. Keep your energy on it. And keep it up. Stop looking around the corner like you in the seeing phase. And just allow at this stage. You got to allow the administration to just take a little bit of effort from you. 10% effort, 90% administration. Even if that's existence or the universe or whatever you want to call it itself, taking on the administrative role. You got to allow it to play its part too. You can't force the things just to happen the way that you want it to happen. You can't control it. You got to allow, right? It's the 4th gate in Raynology is allowing. Allowing to give you an allowance, right? So we're in the administrative phase. And as we come out the administrative phase, we'll go into the harvest, right? I want to say that's on the 3rd, between the 3rd and the 5th. So just stay the course, stay positive, and concentrate and focus on your intentions, right? Keep them things at the frontal lobe of your consciousness. And like I said, as we start to wane, as the moon begins to wane out, you still keep on focusing on it too, because run it back again. I always tell people do the same 2 intentions for 6 months and watch your life change in 6 months, right? Under your autonomy, because that much you can't control, right? That much you can't control, you guys. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and take it over to the TikTok. I'm gonna let my phone charge up and let my mic charge up so we could go in on the TikTok too. Get a TikTok son. We might start doing Instagram on Sundays. I don't know. I'm a beta test the TikTok. I mean Instagram out. We're gonna start going live there too. Because I'm gonna keep pumping videos. You know, pumping through the channels, through the networks. See what happened, man. You know, I gotta stay on it. I gotta take it to another level. I gotta step up my grind and my visibility, right? Because there's more information to put out. So it is what it is. All right, you guys. So that's gonna be that. We're gonna get off of here. And I see you guys again on the TikTok. Let me see, it's 1:38, about 222 Eastern Standard Time for the people that's in alignment. You know, catch me 222 over there. That'll be 123 Central Standard Time. And see you guys on the TikTok. All right. Peace and love. May the ancestors be with you in this great day and time. Hey, Alex, I see you, loved one. Who am I?